Hello students, you are welcome to input tax credit revision class. See, there are two types of supplies. One is output tax, the other one is input tax. When you supply the goods to somebody else or render the services to others, then that is called output supply or outward supply rather. Outward supply. On outward supply, you collect the taxes and you have to pay that to the government. So that is called output tax. You purchase the goods from someone else, rather you are supplied with the goods, and that is called inward supply. On inward supply, you have to pay the taxes, and that is called input tax. Input tax. On outward supply, output tax. On inward supply, input tax. Now, input tax can be set off against output tax so that you will get net tax. So, your tax burden gets reduced. So, one of the important features of goods and services tax, that is GST, is the mechanism of input tax credit. In simple words, input tax credit means at the time of paying tax on supplies, one can reduce the tax by the amount of input tax one has already paid on supplies received. Input tax credit means reducing the taxes paid on inputs from taxes to be paid on output. For example, you pay 120 rupees output tax. You have to pay. But you have got already, you have paid some, say, 20 rupees input tax. 100 rupees input tax. 120 minus 100 rupees, 20 rupees you need to pay to the government. And input tax credit will be included under, yes, that will be credited to electronic credit ledger. Input tax credit means reducing the taxes paid on inputs from taxes to be paid on output. When any supply of service or goods is supplied to a taxable person, the GST charged is known as input tax. Now, eligibility and conditions for availing input tax credit under Section 16 of CGST Act 2017. See, earlier, it was not possible to claim input tax credit for central tax, entry tax, luxury tax and other taxes. Only in the case of KVAT, input tax credit was available to use. In addition, traders and service providers could not claim credit for the central excise duty paid. Then, during the pre-GST era, cross credit of VAT against service taxes / excise or vice versa was not allowed. What I meant to say is, see, input tax on services cannot be adjusted against input tax on goods, and similarly the reverse case. But now services and goods are put together under GST only, and all taxes were subsumed in taxes only, GST only, and therefore now there is no restriction on setting up of this input tax credit. Now, eligibility and conditions for claiming ITC specifically. Number 1, every registered person is entitled to take credit of input tax charged on any supply of goods or services or both which are used or intended to be used in the course or furtherance of his business. So, only a registered person can avail input tax credit, that too on the goods supplied or services rendered to him or both, provided that is used for furtherance of his business or continuation of the business. If it is a final consumption, then ITC is not available. So the ITC is credited to, as I mentioned earlier, electronic credit ledger of such a person. There are certain conditions in order to avail the input tax credit. What are they? Point A, he should be in possession of tax invoice or debit note or tax paying document issued by a supplier. He has received the goods or services. So he should have actually received the goods or services. The registered person shall be deemed that he has received the goods, where the goods are delivered by the supplier to a recipient or any other person on the direction of such a registered person, whether acting as an agent or otherwise, before or during the movement of goods, either by way of transfer of documents of title to goods or otherwise. Thus, a registered person is deemed that he has received the goods, wherein he himself may receive the goods, or any other person like agent might have received the goods on the direction of the registered person, either before or during the movement of goods, or by way of transfer of documents of title to goods, or otherwise. Then, similarly, in the case of services also, he himself may receive the services, or on his behalf, somebody else might have received the services. In both the cases, he is deemed to be a receiver of that service. And then, the return has to be filed by the registered person taking ITC. If you have to avail the ITC input tax credit, you should have filed the returns to the to the department. Then only you can avail the ITC. GST returns you should have filed. The supplier has paid taxes to the government, either in cash or through utilization of input tax credit. If X has supplied the goods to you, and X should pay the taxes on the supplies made to you to the government, or he has to make use of ITC. Otherwise, definitely input tax credit is not available to you. So this is one of the limitations of GST also. Unless the supplier has paid the taxes to the government, the buyer cannot make use of ITC in respect of goods supplied to him. Goods received in lots. ITC available only on receipt of last lot. When goods are received on installments or in lots against a single invoice, ITC can be claimed only when the last installment of goods are received. Without receiving the last installment, ITC cannot be availed in respect of that particular single invoice. If depreciation claimed on tax component, ITC is not allowed. Where the registered person has claimed depreciation on the tax component of cost of capital goods or plant and machinery, the input tax credit on the said component shall not be allowed. For example, if the cost is 100 of the goods supplied and tax is say 10%, let's say 10 rupees, so 110. If depreciation is calculated on 110, ITC is not available. If depreciation is calculated on just cost, that is 100, then of course ITC is available. What do you mean by capital goods? Capital goods means the value of which is capitalized in the books of the person claiming the input tax credit, and which are used or intended to be used in the course of furtherance of business. In other words, the business should be continued, and the goods purchased should have longer life, and they are capitalized. Okay, the next one is payment for invoices to be made within 180 days. Where the receipt of goods and services fails to pay to the supplier the amount towards the value of supply along with the tax payable thereon within 180 days from the date of invoice, he cannot claim such input tax credit. and is liable to pay the tax along with interest and penalty. So within 180 days of receipt of goods or availing the services, the supplier, you have to pay the amount to the supplier. If you do not pay the amount within 180 days to the supplier, you cannot claim input tax credit. Not only that, you are liable to pay the tax along with interest and penalty. But once the payment is made, a recipient will be entitled to avail the credit again without any difficulty. Next, time limit for availing ITC. There are two clauses. One is due date of filing of return for the month of September of succeeding financial year, or date of filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. So there are two clauses of that. Whichever happens first, till that date, ITC in respect of a particular invoice can be availed. ITC on invoices pertaining to a financial year or debit notes relating to invoices pertaining to a financial year, for example 18-19, can be availed any time till the due date of filing the return for the month of September of the succeeding financial year, that is 1920. So till October 20th, the exact due date of September is 20th, October 20th, or the date of filing the relevant annual return. Say due date is October 20th, you might submit it even before that, say on October 1st. Then ITC is available until October 1st. Supposing you submit it on October 30th, the benefit is available only up to October 20th, whichever happens earlier, whichever takes place earlier. Okay, next, restriction on ITC in proportion of taxable supplies and business purposes. So if the supplies are for affecting, supplies are affecting taxable supplies, then ITC benefit is available. If supplies are for exempt supply, then ITC is not available, or nil rated supplies, then benefit is not available. Similarly, if the supplies are used for business purposes and furtherance of trade, okay, taxable ITC is available. On the other hand, if it is for personal purpose or any other purpose other than business or for furtherance of business, then ITC is not available. ITC not allowed on certain supplies. So in certain cases, ITC is not allowed. We call that blocked credits. Anyway, let us look into a small part of a small issue, apportionment of credit and blocked credits. In this video, I will take up only apportionment of ITC. Following are the provisions governing the apportionment of ITC, partly for business and partly for other purpose. I already told you, where the goods or services are both are used by the registered person, partly for the purpose of any business and partly for other purpose, then the amount of credit shall be restricted to so much of the input as is attributable to the purpose of his business. So, if the supply is received or services received or both are used by the registered person, partly for business purpose and partly for non-business purpose, then the ITC is restricted to that part of supply which is used for business purpose. If that is used for non-business purpose or personal purpose, ITC is not available. Similarly, where partly for taxable supplies and partly for zero rated supplies. So where goods or services are both are used by the registered person, partly for effecting taxable supplies, including zero rated supplies, and partly for non-taxable supplies, including exempt supplies, and nil rated supplies. The amount of credit shall be restricted to so much of the input tax as is attributable to the said taxable supplies, including zero rated supplies. What I mean to say is, when goods or services are both are used by the registered person for effecting taxable supplies as well as non-taxable supplies or exempt supplies, then the benefit is available only in respect of goods which are used for effecting taxable supplies. For those goods which are used for effecting exempted supplies, ITC is not available. Then reverse charges, transaction in securities, sale of land would be part of exempted supplies. What is reverse charge? See, when we purchase the goods from somebody, the responsibility of paying the taxes lies with the seller, not with the buyer. So the seller has to collect the taxes from the buyer and then he has to pay to the government, or at least he has to make use of ITC in order to reduce the taxes. But in the case of reverse charge cases, it is the buyer who is responsible for paying the taxes and not the seller. So that is nothing but reverse charge. So reverse charges, transactions in securities, sale of land, all these will be included under exempted supplies. The value of exempted supply shall be such as may be prescribed and shall include supplies on which the recipient is liable to pay tax on reverse charge basis, transaction in securities, sale of land and sale of ready built building. Mechanism of apportionment of credit for banking company and financial institution. A banking company or financial institution, you know very well, they accept the deposits and lend it and advance it to the needy, and thereby they run the business and make profit. They have got the option. Two options are here. One is avail input tax credit equal to the taxable supplies. Input tax credit equal to the taxable supplies. Or avail of every month an amount equal to 50% of the eligible input tax credit on inputs, capital goods and input services in that month, and the rest lapse. So there are two options. One is, yes, avail the input tax credit equal to the taxable supplies, or avail of every month an amount equal to 50% of eligible input tax credit on inputs, capital goods and input services in that month only, and the rest lapse. But there are two conditions here. One is option 1's exercise shall not be withdrawn during the remaining part of the financial year. In other words, during the year you do not have the choice or option to change your choice. Either first one or the second one you have to use, but throughout the year. Secondly, restriction of 50% shall not apply to the tax paid on supplies made by one registered person to another registered person having the same permanent account number. So the permanent accounting number should be different. Then only that 50% eligibility can be availed. Otherwise, it is not applicable. So thank you.